Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on our program, The Dynamics of Choice at BTIU-STUDIO. Today's focus is on electrotechnology. Question is, to what standards are these technologies aligned? Join Dr. Suma as he discusses with delegates of the just concluded IEC General Meeting in San Francisco, California.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us today. My name is Clive Suma Katiba. I'm also a professor of global affairs and also the chief executive of the Brown Suma International University. It's an online university. And within the university, we have what we call BTIU-STUDIO. And the essence of our studio is to look at the dynamics of choices that are made, for example, in global affairs and how they impact other communities and how also they enhance or help solve some of the very many challenging issues that we are facing. And when I heard about this conference, I knew that this would be a very good forum for us to discuss, considering IEC as a global institution and how it relates to individual countries in Africa. So maybe before we just begin, I'll just take this opportunity to welcome you and have us start introducing yourselves just briefly about your country, your name, who you are, and your relationship with IEC. So maybe we could start from Cross.
Yeah, thank you very much. I am Danladi Bukari. I'm the National Committee President for Ghana. Yes.
Thank you so much. You're welcome.
I am Engineer Achema Alo, the Secretary Nigerian Committee for IEC. I work with the Standards Organization of Nigeria. And in the Standards Organization of Nigeria, being the apex standard making body in Nigeria, we are responsible for developing all the standards for product and services in Nigeria. And because we have come all the way to understand the importance of IEC, we have come all the way from through the affiliate membership to associate membership, and now we are full members of IEC. And currently we have re-inaugurated our national committees, and they are all ready to take the mantle of the job of salmon development in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, and congratulations for the efforts and everything that you have gained as a result of this.
Thank you.
Okay, I am Ebenezer Afari Eklent. I'm the past president of the Ghana National Committee of IEC. I also was the regional representative of the African Electrotechnical Scientific Commission. I am a consultant working for Nigeria Limited. So we are standard users. Because the standards, as we develop them, we have to apply them in real work and bring the feedback to IEC. And in Ghana, we have done so and applied the standards in our government and private sector environment. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And of course, finally.
Thank you, Clive. My name is Cyrus Halusi. I am the president of the Kenya National Committee for the IEC. I'm also a member of various technical committees in IEC, in AFSEC, and in Kenya. I work as a consultant in design and execution. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. We appreciate your work. And as we sit here, those ones who will be viewing this conversation, wherever they are, they will understand how much Africa is the center of global affairs decisions. And we are really excited to have you here in San Francisco. And just to get into the matter, maybe we will be doing a rotational kind of situation. We will start, Mr. President. Just a general question about what exactly is IEC? You know, I'm very sure way back in Africa, many people do not understand the importance of such kind of a body and how it relates to them. So,
well, thank you very much. The IEC is the International Electrotechnical Committee. It is actually an international standardization body that seeks to develop and harmonize standards. In terms of industry, there is a language between the user, the producer, and all stakeholders. The common parameter that underscores what is desirable or what is being put out there is a standard. So in terms of electrotechnical equipment and then technology, there has to be a common understanding of all the things that are being done within that arena. So the standards committee is a committee that actually looks at various aspects of all electrical systems. And it has been set up, and what we do is actually look at various aspects of the industry, take various, set up various technical committees that look at various standards, develop them, try to harmonize them, and ensure that they actually speak to what is required by the industry. So in Africa, we mostly work in association with the national committees of standards, and then we look more at the electrical aspect of standards, and then it's mostly made up of various industry players, governmental organizations, regulators. We all come together, and the experts are developed who try to review the standards, make contributions, adopt them, so that industry uses that and it facilitates trade. That's basically what we seek to do with standards.
Thank you so much for your answer. Maybe just moving on ahead in relation to what we are discussing right now. So, do you think this IEC has had any influence or impact on the national standardization structures or infrastructure, if I may say?
Yeah, thank you. The importance of standards can not be overemphasized. First, in developing policies, national policies, standards are, the instruments, and then for agencies to be able to regulate the different aspects of other products and services, standards are the basic documents and reference documents that are used. In a particular country, the use of standards and membership of IEC and the use of reference documents from IEC make a lot of difference. One, in ensuring that technology, market trends, government policies are all guided. The standards IEC guides us, to produce these standards, and then to ensure that products that are either locally manufactured, products that are imported into a particular country, they meet requirements of the standards. And of course, it helps, the World WTO to be able to direct the affairs of trade globally. Now, whatever comes from Europe, whatever comes from America, whatever comes from Africa, they should have the same requirement, and it should meet the requirement of the standards. And that way, we have a common, idea, common stand for products.
Thank you so much. And you bring in the aspect of trade, particularly the World Trade Organization in this case. And this question was to Vanessa. Do you think the standardization, as we have talked about, creating new trade opportunities and innovation in Africa, and maybe in Ghana specifically?
Yes, I think trade, is a global, thing, and IEC standards is global, and so once you subscribe to those standards, then you are eliminating the barriers in trade. For example, if I want to go and buy some equipment from Nigeria and they are certified by IEC, because they work within the framework of IEC, then I will not even need to come to Europe. I can go to Nigeria, and it's shorter, it's cheaper, and it rather brings, Africa more business. So, in terms of trade, the IEC standard is what we need in Africa, because it is what we've done to develop Europe. And in fact, the trade, it's also to do with creating employment. Once we are able to adopt these standards and use them well, it brings about a global opportunity where we can have exchange of ideas, the Europeans and Africans, and to try and bring Africa up the way Europe is looking like. In fact, when it comes to standards, if you want to develop a country or a continent, if there are those standards, you can't trade well. You see that whilst Cote d'Ivoire is using a different block, Ghana is using something different, Nigeria is going to probably also do something different. But once we offer on the same platform using IEC standards, we can do trade easily among ourselves. And I think that's the best way to do it.
Thank you so much. And I just want to go back to what our colleague from Nigeria talked about, and actually touches on the global aspect of things. In this regard, you talked about membership, affiliate membership. How does this, maybe engineer would like to chime in, and everybody generally, how is this an issue in Africa? Because we talked about globalization, how is the membership of Africa in this kind of body, IEC, for example, and how is it affecting us? If at all there are any challenges, what do we think we could do to make Africa have a stronger say in this kind of organization? Maybe we'll start here, and everybody else can just chime in as well.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Indeed, Africa as a continent, we have a challenge in terms of participation in the development of standards that are close to IEC. Partly the reason is that when you go to membership of IEC, they have the full members and they have the associate members, and then the last group is the affiliate who are yet to graduate into part membership. And one of the reasons that probably most Africa countries haven't taken this up, one of the reasons is finances. The membership fees are fairly high. Two, the participation. You find that African countries, the experts, people tend to shy from participating. So participating in technical committees is reduced, and that is one of the criteria to become full members. So at this level, I would say what we need to do is raise awareness, encourage our brothers in Africa, those countries that are not yet members, to become members, so that we do not have to reinvent the wheel. IEC has provided to AFSEC, like the agreement you saw being signed today. IEC has provided that they will give us their standards. And we can look at it and say, yes, this one we can use, this one will modify like this and adopt. So we do not have a long way to go. So we need to encourage our African countries for participation as members.
Do you think, what is your take on that?
Well, in terms of membership, our participation has been quite low, and I would have desired that we had a better, higher and better participation right now. What he has just said, the funding part is quite an issue. I look at the aspect of industrialization. How many industries are there that actually require the use of standards? How much are we transforming our raw materials into finished products? What are we actually bringing out? If you have everything being imported, then you really do not desire so much standards to guide you in productivity. So I think the more we industrialize and the more we tend to look at what manufacturing we can do, what processing we can do, what finished products we can bring out, and the more we seek to conform to what trade requires us to do, what others need. So automatically it becomes the need that pushes, that drives the use of the standard, and that is what will finance the use of the standards, and that will be what will actually get us to participate more. In this direction, our Lord so much AFSEC, which is the African component of the Electrotechnical standardization, where quite a number of guides are being developed to try to guide the African designer as to how to use standards in designing, how to use the application of standards in various aspects. So the standards are there, how do you apply them? So quite a number of publications are being done which will actually guide us to do that. And it will have interest, and that will help us be able to participate more. And what I will say is we still are at the initial stage where we need quite a lot of support. So existing industry, governments, and all other people who can support would have to support so that we see how we can participate more in the development of the standards, IC standards, and where we can also push issues of our local environment in the development of the standards. So at the end of the day, they are also more suited to our environment, and then automatically we are able to use the standards in an environment that, in a culture and environment that actually is global. I think that's why we should look at it.
Maybe before you comment, it's just something else has come up that actually ties or brings the issue here in perspective, and that is the issue of financing, the standards, the issue of more participation in this case, trading, if I may also say. All these financing standards, for example, requires a lot of fund, and within the framework of IEC, there is the aspect of the global impact fund. Do you think Africa, for example, in country maybe is leveraging a lot from this fund to be able to fund some of the issues that are being discussed today? And maybe after that we'll...
I think so. I mean, for the funding, or for the funding aspect of national committees, that is an aspect we would want governments to back the national committees. After all, it is a national committee of electrotechnical standards that we are working on. But when it comes to programs, there are other workshops, there are other committees, and other things. There we can rely on the global funding that we're talking about, so that they can also look at assisting the African countries as one country, and then put us together to harmonize the standards that will benefit Africa, because we don't produce much in Africa. And so we always import. And by so doing, we would need to now work on standards such that we also can make an influence on the standards which are being taken in Europe and America. so that the things that comes to Africa will last based on our climatic conditions that we have there. So there are so many trainings that we can tailor to our engineers, to those who sell electrical equipment and all that. And that's why I see the global funding coming in to assist in the funding. But as for the funding of the various countries, it is state to state, because everybody has how much is paying. Nigeria is a full member, Kenya is an associate member, Ghana is an associate member. We are all paying differently based on our economic situation, and there's a way of working out the fees.
Exactly.
So that is how I think we can look at the fund. But I think in strong terms, governments should back the funding of IEC national committees, because it is only that which can bring them very good development. But if you are building a skyscraper, or we are building an airport, all the electrical equipment in there, these equipment don't just come by chance. People have designed them based on IEC standards, and they must talk to each other. So at the end of the day, if government gets involved, the fees that they are taking from us are not that much. I mean, some of them pay about 30,000 Swiss francs. So I pay 6,000 Swiss francs. We are going to a country in economic situations, and this is not money that governments cannot pay. So I think it is better we knock at the doors of our governments to try and get these things working. Otherwise, we can't develop. Development is all about standards. If you don't have standards, you can't develop properly.
Instructor Lord, go ahead.
Yes, if you look at as a national standard body, I can tell you how expensive it is to develop a particular standard for one product. And standards are not just developed and put on the shelf; they are meant to be used. The industries have to use them. And if the industries are using them, then the industries have to grow. In Africa, there is a dire need for industrial development, growth. And for these industries to grow, the use of standards are critical. Implementing standards within the industries are areas that industry will look at. And the Global Impact Fund will address the fact that industries are using the standards, to produce, the products that the people need and that Africa needs. And then these funds are valuable, and of course we encourage stakeholders, to increase their implementation of the standards so that they can benefit from this fund. And of course, if you look through the history of industrialization, from the first, second, third, and the fourth industrial revolution, standards have played a great role. And because these standards have played a great role through these development processes, at this point, we can't afford to draw back. We'll have to move on, we'll have to stay on the path globally, and then collaborate with other standard organizations of the world so that we can have common goal, and that we too can have industrialized continents.
So standardization in the industrialization in this case. And we also have, previously I'm sure you had the Millennium Development Goals. Now we are having the Sustainable Development Goals. How does IEC play into this, and do you think in Africa we are on that path to achieving this with all the challenges maybe that you have just mentioned?
Yes, SDG, it is a great concept, as initiated by United Nations. Yes, if I may use Nigeria as example, all the 17 goals as have been developed. Nigeria is striving, every country is striving to ensure that all the goals are achieved. Yes, we are not there yet, but the first thing is that have we initiated programs that will ensure that these goals will succeed? Yes, we have. We're talking about energy, talking about environment, and then the overall essence of SDG is people and planet. And of course, if you are talking of people and planet, we talk of poverty alleviation, poverty reduction, energy, sustainability, and all of that. So we are, going step by step to ensure that, SDG goals are, are achieved. And of course, the governments are doing everything. Even if, we may decide to blame government, but the governments are doing everything, possible. Of course, if you look at some other African countries, they have gone in the area of ensuring that energy transition, is sustained. Several companies, several countries have, may develop plans to ensure that, energy transition, is sustained.
Thank you.
And achieved by the year 2060.
That's true. And even as we continue just winding down in this case, maybe I'll give each one of you time to just generally talk about the conference. And maybe in specifically this afternoon, I understand there was a signing ceremony between the IC and the African continent. In fact, maybe you can also touch on that and tell us more. And in your opinion, do you think that the voice of Africa as a continent is being heard in such a forum? So maybe we'll just start with the ones.
I think this year's meeting has been one of it's a remarkable meeting, and it's brought quite a number of experts from Africa have come. A lot of countries have been represented from the various committees. I think that is quite an achievement. In terms of the signing that took place this afternoon, it is between AFSEC. AFSEC is a committee that is looking at bringing together the players in Africa, the electrotechnical field, looking at African standards, mirroring basically IC standards, taking them, looking at them, seeing how they can be adopted by African countries, modifying them to suit our standard, and then also having committees that have collaboration and contribute basically into IC standards. I think today's agreement was a signing of two formal documents that formalizes the relationship between AFSEC and an IEC. So once that formality has come to stay, it gives the two collaborating partners some mandates that are guided and strengthen the relationship, and definitely will impact on we the players in the industry to strengthen our resolve, and that is quite fine. An area that I would want to talk of in relation to the SDGs is access, quality of electricity. In terms of access to electricity, there's quite a lot. The various models of electrification that have worked previously for the developed nations would not be the same models of electrification that will work for Africa today. There are several, because of the way Africa is and then the way Africa develops, and the need for incorporating productive use of electricity as you even extend and then create access to electricity. All those things come to play, and we need to harmonize standards and direct them in a manner that at the end of the day you are electrifying and you are developing at the same time that people can afford electricity.
In this agreement, Africa is set to move. And of course, we will continue to appeal to countries, African countries that are not yet member of AFSEC, to key in to membership of AFSEC, because that is the only way, they too can move, both industrially, energy transition, talking about environmental, impacts, climate change and all of that. We need standards. And IEC is spearheading is ensuring that all the goals of the SDG, standards cover them. And of course, you can't be a country and be left behind.
Okay.
So we brought all other African countries to be members of AFSEC.
Thank you so much. And
thank you. I think AFSEC is the African Electrotechnical Commission, and that covers the whole of Africa. IEC is a global group. They work under the UN.
right.
We had to collaborate between IEC and AFSEC. And to make life easier for AFSEC, there was a need for this partnership that we've signed today, so that we can mirror all the standards that we have. IEC has got about how many?
It's more than 10,000.
10,000, standards we're working on.
Mm-hmm.
So now it means that Africa can take all these standards and mirror them in Africa.
Okay.
Now that Africa has now signed that document, now we will be able to partner with our European partners who are also IEC members, and then get these things that they have done to develop Africa in Africa. The question is, do we have the capacity to handle these standards?
Me, the 86th general meeting was very important. Quite a number of matters came up. The signing of this agreement between AFSEC and IEC is a big landmark since AFSEC was set up. The other thing that I've taken from this conference is a clear explanation and structures that have been put in place regarding the impact, global impact fund, and that IEC have set aside some funds, and these funds are to address some of the problems or some of the challenges or some of the hardships that countries are going in, using projects that are related to IEC standards. This project has been given to Africa, and this project is how to take the batteries that are out of service to create a recyclable product. So it is something that has come out of this conference, and I really think that we have had quite a bit to take away with ourselves. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. This is a milestone. 14 years down the line, you are at the forefront of engaging the international community on behalf of Africa, from Senegal to Nigeria, Ghana, and Kenya. This is indeed an interesting aspect. I am honored to actually have you here. Whenever we see this kind of gathering, this kind of delegation strongly engaging the international community, we feel proud, and you have done us proud as well. Thank you very, very much for being with us, for taking your time, and we hope that we will continue highlighting the issues that you have actually been here to stay in terms of government support and exposure awareness. You talked about it. So we are one of you in terms of creating that awareness when people hear and listen to what you have said. Thank you very, very much, gentlemen.